Well, hey, first off, thank you. It's an exciting day for Utah. First day of the legislative session. There's a lot of excitement this year. I can feel with our members, so we're very appreciative of the work that they do and the time and sacrifices that they put in to making Utah and keeping Utah the #1 best state in the nation. That's super important to us. So. There will always be things that consume the news cycle, certainly. As you guys know, I don't need to tell you any of that, but a lot of them make a difference for Utahns. A lot of them don't make a difference for Utahns, honestly. But we're really focused on the things that do make a difference for Utahns. As I talked about in my opening day speech, we're really going to focus on the citizens of the state this year and their priorities. One of the things that we have heard for over a year now, honestly, this is something that we heard last year, but cost of living continues to be a top priority for the citizens of the state. Certainly housing is one of those things. Property taxes is another one of those things. Gas prices was one of those things during the summer. There's a little bit of relief today. But these are all things that we're really going to focus on. Also, strong families. We want to. That's part of the concern out there is that families aren't growing at the rate they otherwise would have because the cost of living is so high. And so, really working hard to focus on keeping Utah the #1 best state in the nation for families is going to be a top priority for us. One of the things we always care about is limited government, reducing regulations, very careful on the regulations that we put into place. Utah's been recognized multiple times as the best state in the nation for business and one of the least burdensome states in the nation, and one of the most free states in the nation, not just for business, but for the citizens. So regulations and limited government will continue to be a top priority for us. Infrastructure. Utah has more kids in high school and in our school system right now than at any other point in the state's history. Well, maybe a little more last year, but we are graduating more kids right now out of our high schools than any other point in state history. And so our state is continuing to grow and will continue to grow. And so making sure that we have the available infrastructure, whether it's roads, whether it's water, whether it's sewer, whatever those projects are, economy, right, infrastructure, so that we can make sure we have businesses that want to locate in Utah and continue to grow and expand in Utah, so that when kids come out of high school or come out of our universities, that they have a place to go and a place to be able to provide a living and not have to move outside of the state. Accountability and transparency, that's always a top issue for us. We want to make sure that we're holding government accountable and that we're transparent. And so that goes for all 3 branches of government. We have some transparency things that we're going to propose with the courts this session. Education, always top priority in the House. The House, 75 of us. I think all of us have kids and grandkids here in Utah. We want to make sure that we have a great education system and that parents have options and the teachers have what they need inside the classrooms. Public safety, last year you'll remember, public safety was a top priority for the House of Representatives. I could not be more proud of the way Salt Lake City came together, worked with us. Yeah. Representative Snider really worked hard with Mayor Mendenhall. The county was a little slow, Salt Lake County was a little slow to come along, but they've been great team players and really working hard as well to address their issues with jail capacity. And so we're very appreciative of that. And Representative Snider's worked a lot on water as well. Water will always continue to be top of mind here in the state of Utah. being the third most driest state in the nation. So those are issues that are top priority that we will focus on again this year. So, Representative Snider, anything you want to add?
No, I think the speaker really outlined it well, and if you haven't had a chance, go back and listen to the opening day remarks of the work that we do here is not about what we do in these 45 days. It's generational. It's for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Now, he did say that it was a visionary from Cache County, so I just want to reinforce that that's sort of the reputation for those of us.
It was the last good thing that came out of Cache County.
Maybe. But I do think that it is, the speaker really laid out well what the business of the House is, and it's looking down the road at the future and for the future, and just grateful for his leadership on these key issues this session.
So a few years ago, we started to do things a little different in the House, and this was under Speaker Brad Wilson's leadership, where we started developing the priorities. We've got little cards if you want one. Most of you probably have it. It's on our website. But we really work hard as a caucus to come together and say, what are the things you're hearing from your constituents? What are the top priorities that you're seeing out there that we need to focus on during this session? And we start in the spring, usually in May, when we start having those first meetings and conversations. They progress all through the summer, and then late fall, early winter, in December generally is when we'll get together as a caucus and finalize what comes out and what our top priorities are. So this isn't me per se saying this is the priorities. This isn't our majority leader saying this is our priorities. This is a work of all 61 members of the House Majority Caucus that's provided this list. So with that, let's open it up to questions.
Speaker, Governor Cox is creating a strategic framework for Utah to lead on critical mineral extraction and processing, and President Adams said that this would include regulatory changes and also potentially funding. Yeah. So I'm wondering what steps will be taken this session to make that happen, and does it particularly connect to that new deposit of rare earth materials to the west of Utah Lake?
The answer to that is absolutely it does. So Utah is poised as the best state in the nation to lead out on critical minerals. And we think it's really important. It's a top priority for us. We mentioned it last year in our opening day speech, talked about that Utah can play a key role in that. We have energy fuels, we have ionic minerals. I think that's the new ionic, right? Several other companies around. Utah's home to more so than almost any other state in the nation to these rare earth minerals. And it's becoming more and more important. I mean, you've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, really, China flexing its muscles in either restricting it or flooding it onto the market or doing everything that they can do to control the rare earth minerals in the world. And you've seen the United States and a lot of the European countries come together, and they're doing all they can to ice out China and Russia. Utah, we've had direct conversations with the federal government, with the White House on the possibility of mineral research lab in conjunction with the University of Utah here in the state of Utah. That seems to is getting a lot of traction right now. We'll see what happens ultimately. But Senator Milner and Representative Dave Schallenberger are leading out on some of these issues. You know, you have a lot of different thoughts and ideas around the best way forward, and so I know Senator Milner, we're really going to miss her, by the way. She's fantastic senator, done a lot of great things for the state of Utah. But yeah, it'll be a top priority. And let me tell you why I think that's also important. You know, in my opening day speech, we talked about, you know, what comes next. What's the long-term goals for the state of Utah? Well, Utah has been very fortunate and had a very strong, diverse tech sector, right? We also know that the tech sector is probably one of the areas that will be most affected by AI down, you know, into the future. And so we're looking at, okay, we're likely to lose a bunch of jobs in the state of Utah because of AI. What are the new and emerging areas that are going to be growing? in the state of Utah. And just like we did, we got ahead of energy 3-4 years ago here in the state of Utah, we're looking to get ahead of that as well and look not what's happening right now in this time and moment, but what's our economy going to look like 5 years from now. I predict that energy and critical minerals will play a key role in being one of the leading drivers of the state's economic development down the road. And we're going to need that. As AI comes in and disrupts, the states that are thinking about how to get ahead of it are going to do well. The states that stay behind are not going to do well. So.
Speaker, the House is proposing bifurcating Utah's election system to require, if you're voting in a state election, to provide proof of U.S. citizenship.
Yeah.
Talk about why you want to do that. Last year, that was part of HB 300's big election bill last year, but it was kind of stripped out. Talk about why that's important.
Yeah, well, I think most everybody agrees and wants to make sure that we have that we only have U.S. citizens that are voting. So the idea there is to make sure that we're not having non-U.S. citizens vote, right? And I think most of everyone would agree with that. If you're not a U.S. citizen, you don't have the right to vote. And so 3 states have already passed this bill, Arizona, New Hampshire, and Wyoming. We're looking for Utah to be the 4th state to pass this bill. We're excited about it. I think it's really important.
Well, it's already illegal to vote if you're not a U.S. citizen.
But you still have illegal aliens or illegals on the voter rolls right now. So just because it's illegal doesn't mean that it's not happening. It's illegal to vote if you're dead, but somehow it's still happening. It's illegal to vote twice, but yet it's still happening. So these are things that we're focused on. It seems common sense to me to make sure when you register to vote that you're actual citizen of the United States.
What's
Well,
the
let
extent
me
of
jump
the-
in there if I could too, because I think this is part of a broader discussion that we need to have on election transparency. And it's because we believe that these institutions live or die by the confidence that people hold in that. And so doing whatever we can to ensure that, yes, the system is transparent and accountable and legal, as the speaker indicated, but also so that the public who use these systems can have confidence in the process that they're participating in and the election outcomes that they see on election night. So it's part of a holistic package. Obviously, the speaker's been very involved in that, and Representative Burton's been very involved in that, but that's really, it's not just about this single issue. It's about full, honest, open, transparent elections and all that comes with it.
What's the
So we
extent of the
saw-
problem, though?
well,
How many people
yeah,
are voting illegally in Utah?
We don't know exactly what it is. I've asked the question, is it thousands? I've been told probably not. Is it in the hundreds? Probably somewhere in there. But you have close elections every year, so I think it's important to make sure that we have that transparency. So, and again, and one of the other reasons why it's important, election integrity right now in Utah is lower today than it was in the 2022 election cycle. I think it was the last numbers I looked at was 2024 election cycle was lower than it was in the 2022 election cycle. So I think anything we can do to add confidence to our systems is good. Checks and
Integrity
balances
is
are
actually lower, or the perception of integrity is lower?
the perception of integrity, those that have confidence in elections went down in the 2024 general election.
We have time for we have about 3 more minutes.
Speaker,
Okay, go on.
you mentioned early on that there are things that are important that you want lawmakers to focus on, but also things that might not be important. What are some bills or legislation or issues you don't think is worth spending time on this session?
The ones that get held up in rules.
So that's what we'll tell her.
I'm probably not going to get into specific bills right now because there's still so many of them coming out and trying to wrap our heads around all those different bills. But certainly there's always those bills that come out that are attention grabbers, but at the end of the day, do they really make a difference in people's lives? Probably not. And so we want to focus on the things that make a difference in people's lives. Cost of living, again, those are going to be the ones that we're really focused on.
And maybe if I can jump in there too, just that's why this, and the speaker referenced it in his earlier comments, is so critical, because all of the things that the House is focused on, that is hearing from its constituents, are critical long-term investments in this state. So again, I would encourage you all, if you haven't, to go back and look at the House priorities. A lot of time and energy went into making these, and 61 member voices contributed to that. And those are the most important things that our caucus will work on this session.
Some of the most controversial bills so far deal with undocumented immigrants getting publicly funded resources. There's several anti-transgender bills. Are there any that you just don't want to, like, they have been attention grabbing? Do those fall into that category, or do you support or not support any of those?
We'll see what some of those bills are. I think I've been public on a couple of those bills. So there's some that I do support. There's some that I'm still trying to wrap my head around, as well as all members of the legislature. So, we'll have plenty of time to discuss those bills moving forward individually, for sure. So,
That's what I was gonna ask.
okay. What else?
Are you going to do anything on Judge Torgerson this session or no?
Yes.
What?
We will. So, to be determined. So, we'll get with you.
What about Judge
Yeah.
Gibson?
Up next is the State of the Judiciary speech. Anything you'd like to say about changes to the judiciary, or, we're seeing the expansion of the Supreme Court, we're seeing a constitutional amendment from Brooks to allow for a special election for judges if they're deemed unfit or incompetent. Is that aimed at Judge Gibson?
I don't know that necessarily aimed at one particular issue or not. Certainly, I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of concerns out there with the judiciary right now. I want to start off by saying, we're excited to hear from Chief Justice Durant. I got a lot of respect for him and his service to the state over the years. We got a lot of great judges all across the state. But there are some legitimate concerns out there, and transparency is one of those big issues. You look at how transparent the website is for the legislative branch, for the executive branch as well, and you don't see the same thing in the judicial system. And one of those became, that I found out about it because of Judge Torgerson. I went to asked our attorneys to try to find, all the rulings that he ruled on over the years to see if there was some sort of a pattern there or anything. And I got brought back 13 news stories that you all did. And they said, well, that's all we can find because we can't get the access to the courts. And so I'm grateful that we were able to pick up the phone and call the courts, and they provided the information that we wanted to or was looking for. But that's an advantage that I have as Speaker of the House that the average citizen doesn't have, that you all don't have. And so we want the judiciary to come up with a website that's similar to the legislative branches, where every vote we make is public, every comment on the record we make is public. It's easy, it's accessible, it's easy to navigate, it's right there to find. We want to find ways for the judicial branch to do the same thing. Another one is disclosures. You look at the disclosures, and there's no disclosures for judges on financial possible conflicts of interest and so on and so forth. And everything that, as lawmakers, we disclose all that, and the public can make their decisions based off of that. So we think there's a lot of room there. Other states have done it. We want to make sure that we're doing that as well. There's some concerns there inside the judiciary. Judge Torgerson's one of them. The judiciary still has a false statement up on the website that is not true and it's not accurate. And Daniel's reporting has showed that, and it's concerning to us that they didn't take further action against Judge Torgerson for the comments that he's made on the public record from a position of trust, and some of those other things. Another one, Judge Kendall. Did you guys follow the Judge Kendall thing? You had a sitting judge that committed sexual assault, distributing drugs, and he gets a plea in abeyance, and it's wiped away, not even goes on his record, 18 months. I have huge concerns with that. I know most people that I've spoken with have huge concerns with that. You know, I understand that there was an agreement reached with between Judge Kendall and the prosecutor, but the judge has the right to say yes or no to that. And 2 bad decisions is worse than 1 bad decision, and the judge that went before had the right to fix that and say, no, we're not going to accept that, and they chose not to. When you're in that type of position of trust and you commit a sexual assault and you're distributing drugs, you don't get 1 hour community service, you don't get $1 in fines, nothing, and it's wiped away from your record 18 months from now. That just doesn't sit right. And so especially from someone that's holding that type of a position, we're held to a higher standard than the average citizen. So, you know, that's concerning to us. There's also several other things that are concerning to us. You brought up Judge Gibson. That's one, you know, we can always disagree around the ruling and the decision around the ruling. But what's incredibly hard for us is the timing in which she's drugged this out and playing keep away from the Supreme Court with us is hard for us. And so the process was not fair to the citizens of the state. We are elected by the citizens of the state. We are their representatives. And when you treat another branch of government that way, it's sad and it's disappointing. We're certainly disappointed around that. We hope that the judiciary works to fix that so that doesn't happen again to the citizens of the state. And so those are things we're going to be working on. You've heard a lot around independent. You know, we want the judiciary to be independent. I'm sure Chief Justice will hit on that today. We agree. We think the judiciary should be independent. We think the legislative branch should be independent, and the executive branch should be independent. That's what our Constitution says. And so we will find, you know, we will follow the Constitution in trying to work to make the judicial branch more transparent. We want to do so collaboratively with the judicial branch. We're hoping that they're willing to work together with us on these things, but we'll see.
And
We gotta get out.
maybe just add on to that too. So there's been a clear pattern of abuse, lack of accountability, some procedural issues. I don't think any of us want to be in this difficult position of conflict with our judicial branch, but we can't ignore it anymore because the people aren't ignoring it. And that's what we're hearing about from our constituents. And so that's really what we're responding to is what we have seen over the last several years, but really has come to a head. It's not about any one particular decision, but there have been several poor decisions, several clear, unfair situations where justice has clearly not been served, where the court has protected its own against the demands of justice. And so we're in a position where we have to react moving forward, unfortunately.
We'll take a couple more.
Well, we're ready to start.
All right, let's go.
with
What
the
else we got?
judiciary.
Speaker, on
Yeah.
the topic of disclosures, there's a bill that was passed by Representative Peterson last year requiring the Lieutenant Governor's office to make its disclosures website searchable by contributor. That seems to have not been implemented yet, even though the effective date was January 1st. Is that something your office is tracking? And
You'll have to talk to the Lieutenant Governor's
Representative Mike
office on that.
Peterson's bill? Is that the
Yeah.
Mike Peterson's? Yeah.
Yeah, you have to talk to the Lieutenant Governor's office on that.
Can you talk about what you'd like to see for tax cuts? The governor
Yeah.
didn't recommend one in his budget, but
Yeah.
y'all have signaled an income tax cut. What is
Yeah.
the plan to replace income tax if we continue to cut it? How do we fund education?
Yeah. Well, we've been fortunate. You know, you look at other states, and these are high-tax states and states that actually increase taxes. California is looking at $18 billion deficit. New York and Illinois are $6 to $10 billion deficits. We have been able to reduce the income tax over the last 5 years, and we still had additional revenue to make sure that our needs were met here in the state of Utah. And when so many other states all across the country are facing deficits, I know Arizona is one of those ones that cut their taxes huge. They're facing big deficits this year of $1 billion to $2 billion. we've done it in a very responsible, steady, slow way to make sure that we don't end up in a problem to where we are not meeting our needs. We're going to take that same philosophy that we've taken over the last 5 years, implement it into this year. Last year we had several cuts throughout government that helped us fund the tax cut that we did last year. I'm assuming that will probably happen somewhat this year, we'll see. But we do have some additional money identified that we're looking at that will get us somewhere between $100 and $200 million in additional income tax cuts.
Where did that
this
come
year.
from?
Well, we'll see. So give us a minute and we'll see where that.
It's only the first day yet.
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of it.
February numbers
You know.
yet?
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of that bill, but as it rolls out, you'll see it. So, because I've not had conversations with our caucus yet about it, to see how they feel.
Given the constitutional amendment, since we're talking about tax cuts, the constitutional amendment on the property tax and homestead exemption, that's not a cut that from your budgets, that's a cut from school districts and special service districts and things like that.
Which one's that one?
This is, who's the representative? Comfort? Comfort has,
Yeah, that's not a
It's not a
cut though.
cut.
Yeah, that's not a cut.
well, if you increase the amount that's exempt from property tax, you're cutting property tax.
For homeowners, it's shifting the burden. So what you had was about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, when home prices skyrocketed, you had the burden shift from commercial properties over to homeowners and to residentials. And the year you seen that huge increase, you actually saw decreases in commercials. So you had huge increases on the residential side and a decrease on the commercial side. So what Representative Colfert's bill does is it doesn't cut anybody's taxes, doesn't leave any of the local governments short. It just shifts that burden back to where it would have been had residential house prices not skyrocketed.
How many constitutional amendments will be on the ballot in November?
Too many.
All right, we gotta go. Everyone's waiting on you.